The way I see myself now is way different than what I used to see myself as. I don't see myself as religious or spiritual. I see myself as living by faith, walking by faith, believing in God and all His promises and believing the Word of God. That's how I see myself now. So it really doesn't, it's not in the category of religious or spiritual. My name is Jodi Monetti, and I am a child of God, a mother, wife, grandmother, all of the above, minister, love and life. I had a very happy childhood. My childhood was family-oriented. It was we were always laughing. We were always doing things together as a family. There was I don't remember ever being sad as a child from when I was born. Obviously, I don't remember when that was, but all the way until I was probably around 10 years old. We had a very, very happy childhood, and my parents were wonderful. My family was a family of 4 children, but 3 for a while, and then the last one came as a surprise. So I have an older brother, I have a younger sister, I'm the middle, and then my baby brother. And then my parents have been married forever, until my father passed away. My father, bringing up us, he brought us up in a denomination. So we were brought up Catholic, and he was Catholic. But we only went to church on holidays, and he was trying to do the best he could to bring us up that way. And we were brought up with doing our sacraments and going through the Catholic religion, going to church only on holidays and things like that. I laugh because I'm like, oh, Daddy, if we only knew what we know now, but I would call ourselves religious. He was religious. And then we tried to do the best we could growing up that way. The shift that took place in my childhood, when we left Carlstadt, my father got a job down in Forked River, and he connected with a relative. It was my grandfather's stepbrother, and he gave him an opportunity to work in a warehouse, which was wonderful because then Dad was traveling. He was traveling back and forth a long time. It was hard on him to go and work. I think it had to be like an hour and a half away. So when he got this job offer from the relative, he would stay home, Mom would help him. We didn't have to stress so much. But that was when everything shifted, because that's when all the sexual abuse happened. It was just one time with him, but he tried to get me a couple other times. And that was a big twist in my entire life, because I was around 10 years old. I was just starting to grow up. I was just starting to have those changes. And then he came and did what he did. I did not share anything with anyone. Back in that time, I was 10, so that was a long time ago, and I often think about, why didn't I say something? But I knew my dad would have probably killed him. My father I would have messed up the whole entire thing, because everybody was so happy, and if I would have told them, my father would have been in jail. We would have had really hard times. And why would they believe me? Would they believe me? Because back in the day, there was hardly any talk about that stuff. That situation, that moment, the sexual abuse definitely impacted me as a child, because I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't have a childhood. I was so broken and so depressed at that time. I really didn't understand my depression until I was older, and then I did some reflection and looked back and said, I was in a dark place, real dark place. And I try to put on a happy face, which is what we always do. You put on a smile, you just go along and like nothing's wrong, but it was traumatizing to me as a child. I didn't understand why he picked me. Like, why would you pick me? Anybody. But why me? And I said, something must be wrong with me. And then after that situation, I really grew up as, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I must be really like a bad person. Why did he pick me? Why did this happen to me? I must not be a good person. Like, why would you hurt me like that? You know, so it really did a number on me. And then as I grew, it got worse. The ironic part about this whole growth period, about this time of my life, was that even though I felt alone, I didn't feel alone. Like, I was always happy, even though I was hurting so bad on the inside. But I blocked it out for so long that I was just pretended it wasn't there. And the only time that I really, I try to keep myself busy with my friends, with whatever schoolwork I was doing, whatever sports I was playing as a child. I was masking it, you know, until I grew up and I realized something was wrong with me. Because being a child is fun, you know, but when you really have like responsibilities, and after I had my children and things, and I knew something was wrong after I had them, because my whole life shifted from going from a young kid to having a daughter first and then my son at an early age. It all shifted from that point. My boyfriend at that time, we had gotten pregnant first, and then we had an abortion, and then right away, didn't learn my lesson the first time, and we got pregnant again, like quickly after. And I look back and I go, why? What was I thinking? What was I thinking? And you can't go back and change anything. So you have to just say, you know, go forward and learn from things. But we didn't learn from it. But I refused to have another abortion. And he was very controlling. And I think he was very controlling before we even got married or anything. We got pregnant at 16. We got married, and I don't know why I felt the need to get married. I wanted to give my child a better life, you know, than what I had, even though it was nice on the surface. But, you know, Mom was always into my dad, you know, and I wanted to be into my husband, but I wasn't ready for a husband. I wasn't ready for a child. I was a child, having a child. And so I had 2 kids back to back, and I thought, I'm just going to just make the best of it, be the best mother I could possibly be. But I didn't know how to be a mom. I didn't know anything. I didn't have a first love. I had a first experience. And yeah, it wasn't a good first experience. And I think because I was damaged, I was broken, I was depressed, I didn't get a choice and a chance to experience that first normal love, because I thought, oh, I'm grown up, oh, I'm gonna have a baby, but I'm only, 16 years old. I didn't know anything about anything. Looking back, I feel like he was abusive, because I was one way when we were dating, and then I was another way in a full-blown relationship, and then when we got married, everything changed. After we got married, he became very obsessive. And I believe he was obsessive before we got married, I just didn't see it. And he did not allow any of my friends to be around. So I had no friends. I was in isolation pretty much the whole marriage, and no friends. My family was just my mom and my father after he came around. I really felt isolated from the whole thing because he wouldn't let me have any outside friendships. I'm not my old self anymore. I've totally allowed him to abuse me mentally, physically, and, it wasn't me. but he scared me, you know, and I remember him being physically abusive, you know, at some, you know, a couple points, and he wasn't really, you can't even say that, because like when you're abused, whether it happened once or 100 times, you know, so it might have happened twice, but still, you physically abused me, you mentally abused me, broke me down, made me feel like I was nothing. That's abuse. So he loved the children. He never hurt them, but he hurt me. My choice was to divorce him because he was abusive, because this just couldn't be, you know, and then my parents didn't talk to me because I wanted a divorce, and they didn't understand because they didn't know. I didn't tell them. Again, I didn't tell them. Had they known, maybe they would have been a little bit supportive. They probably would have. But I really was battling a lot. I'm not good enough. I'm depressed. I don't know what to do. I have no money. I don't have an education. I don't have a job. So all these things are going on. How am I going to provide for these children? And that's when I had the thought, a really bad thought. Why don't you just check out? Why don't you just commit suicide? And I was like, they could be better off somewhere else. And that's when I was contemplating suicide. So yeah, I was really bad off. After my son came in the room, after he saved me from, you know, doing what I wanted to do, which I don't know, I think about it and I go, how could I be so selfish to even think about suicide? But I was that bad off. But I had to get a job. So then I got a job and I met people and they helped me. And I really look back and go, that was God, that was God, that was God. Like it just was God, you know, not having that relationship with God, but I knew He was there because He put people in my life that I needed at the time. How could I have survived without people? Some of the jobs that I took on, I love helping people. I always loved helping people. It's just who I am. And then when I became a nurse's assistant, working in the old folks' home with all these different personalities in different situations where their health was concerned, and I just met so many wonderful people, other nurses' aides, patients. I just had this like compassion for them. After the nursing home, I went to the hospital, had better benefits and more money, and it was a really good job. And I was going to be a nurse. I was going to try to be a nurse, but I didn't know how that worked. And then I was working at the strip club at nighttime, but I was making more money in the strip clubs. And I was like, I can't do both of these. So I'm going to pick the one. I chased money. And the freedom that I had, that I was able to take care of my children and go with that. So I went there and I was in the strip club for 15 years. And although I did not like it, although it really did a number on my mind and my emotions and my self-esteem, in the beginning, it was wonderful. I was making money, I was happy, I was taking care of my children by myself. And then it got darker and darker and darker, but I did meet some really great people in there, and I know God was with me, even in the strip club. What made me go into the strip club is I was in a relationship. Right after the first marriage, I was in another relationship quickly after that, seeking stability for my children, and oh, I could kick myself. But he was the reason why I even went into the strip club. He always went there to the clubs, lunch breaks, after work, and I didn't understand. I knew nothing. This is really amazing. I knew nothing about a strip club at all. I didn't drink. I didn't know nothing, which was probably good for the isolation. I didn't know anything. But I didn't know anything about a strip club until this person started going to the strip clubs, and then he would come home with his friends, and then they would talk about all these different beautiful women that they saw and what they looked like and how they were excited to see that in front of me. At that point, you would think I would say, are you guys like kidding me right now? Like, you're talking in front of me. Like, hello, I'm here. But that made me curious about, am I not good enough? Am I not enough that you're going to the strip club to see these other people and they're doing it for you? And I'm like, what? Like, what's happening? So I decided that I wanted to go. I decided that I was gonna take myself there. I wanted to see what was going on. And then because of my pride, because I was being rejected again, because I felt unworthy, that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't look good enough, that I wasn't good enough, that I was gonna go and try out and be a stripper. And it wasn't really a tryout. It was, you put a bathing suit on and you go in and you do a song, and yeah, they were like, okay, yeah, you're hired. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then once the money started rolling in was when I really said, you know, this is good. This is a good business. You know, I felt like I could take care of my kids. I didn't need this joker anymore. I could just, you know, but before I ended up, you know, leaving him, I ended up marrying him. It was probably the worst decision that I made, one of the worst decisions, because I got sucked into it, because of the money, and because of my pride, and because I was not going to let another man hurt me, although he already did. So I still made a mistake. When I think about how God led me in certain ways, I think about what His Word says about He'll turn everything around for our good and His glory. So even though I pursued that and I went and did the strip club, that was not His best for me. I believe that His best probably would have been staying in the hospital, becoming the nurse and whatever. But He met me there. He meets us where we're at. And even though I was in the strip club, I was starting to seek Him in the strip club, and I would talk to Him in the strip club. So He knew exactly what was going to happen. He knew I was there. He didn't lead me. My pride led me, but He met me there. I would talk to God, and this one particular time, I said, you know, God, there's got to be someone that you have for me. I keep making these wrong choices. And I said, I know you have a purpose for me, God. And I know I'm not, you know, you have somebody. So I turned around. I heard God say to me, that's him right there. And it was Frank. It was Frank. And I was like, not a chance. No way. I was not interested in dating at all. I was talking to God. I was having peace in my life. He was starting to show me things. I was really connected, you know, and I wanted no part of anything that was going to take me away from God. And I felt like another relationship would. I wanted what God wanted. And I was adamant about that. And then later on is when we started our friendship. Frank was different. Frank was the first person ever to ask me, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be? Almost like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, I was already, you know, whatever, in my late 30s or something. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? He was the only person that would open a door for me. He was the only man in my entire life that opened a door for me. I was like, this guy's different. God definitely was in this relationship. We took the leap of going from just being parishioners or whatever you want to call them, congregation people, to ministers. So we started to go to church, and they started to, about 2 years into church, they started to come up with this program, Celebrate Recovery, that they were looking for group leaders. So that's where it all started. When the lady at the church at that time was mentioning we were going to bring this program into the church, my insides jumped. And I felt like God was saying, do that. You do that. sexual, physical, mental abuse. When she said that, we need a group leader for that, I was like, yes, and yes now. Yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I got an excitement on the inside. That's how I knew it was God. And I realized this is my purpose. Oh my goodness, I'm walking into my purpose. And I would talk to ladies, and we would apply the Word of God, and we would apply what my experiences, what God did for me, and I shared them with what they went through, and they opened up, and they told me all about them, and they would just be like, wow, this is the first time I'm talking to anybody about this. But this Celebrate Recovery and being the group leader, it really pushed me into my purpose. And then soon after that, Frank became involved in leading the men. Once he realized he didn't have it all together, once he realized that he also had a purpose, that put us from just being churchgoers to now being in the ministry. What made me comfortable by telling my story? It's never comfortable telling your story, but I know I have a purpose now. I have a purpose that God birthed in me, and He wants me to tell my story. And I'm never satisfied unless I'm talking about the Lord. The way church people react to my story, everyone is supportive. Some people are not, but most people are, because they've read the book, and they said, every single person who has read the book said, I can see myself right there. Yes, I've been through that. There's so many things about the book, so many things that I've done, so many things that can relate to a lot of people, that every single person has said, yeah, there's a part in there that I can relate to. I had been divorced 3 times, and I've been a stripper, I've had abortions, all these things that I made really bad choices. Even though I knew better, so to speak, maybe not believe this guy, maybe not go there. All these things that happened to me were my own doing, but when I look back, I know that I was kind of warned about it, or just too insecure to do anything about it. So I thought that all these mistakes that I made, that God, how could God use somebody like me? But really, if you look in the Bible, He used a lot of people that messed up. It's the messed up ones that He uses. He doesn't use the people who think they're perfect. He uses the people that will repent and that would say, God, I don't know what you can do with my life, but here I am. I'm sorry. And I really meant it. When I repented, I really meant it. I needed change. And that's why I say, how could He use someone like me? But He can. He forgave me. And I don't even think about that person anymore, which is a miracle. It really is.